All right, well, we can get started if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Um, since you just left the theater,
I did.
why don't you start with Black Bag? Because I'm super curious about this one. I don't think I'll get to the theater to watch it, but I am kind of excited for it.
I
Or
feel
at
like
least I
this
was
film,
until you talked about it. Let's see what happens here.
this is more of a movie that I think, I don't know about Andrew, but this is definitely up your alley, Kevin. When I was watching this, I was like, oh, Kevin's gonna really like this. So it's a Steven Soderbergh,
Okay, yeah.
a film. I don't know if I've seen any of his movies prior to this, but he's released a lot of stuff, it seems like within the
Yes.
past
Soderbergh's been around
like
for a long
five
time.
years. Oh, wait, is this true? There's no way. Did he do Magic Mike? He did do Magic Mike. I have seen Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
What?
Because
I'm
he did
sorry.
Sex, Lies, and Videotape
Magic
in '89.
Magic Mike and then Black Bag? Whoa. Okay, sorry. You
Aaron
can't.
Brockovich.
He did Aaron
Yeah.
Brockovich? Wow, this guy definitely has range.
Yeah, he's been around for a long, long time. He did Ocean's
Hysterical.
8, which was not as good as the other
Yes.
Ocean's
I
movies.
knew that. Yeah.
Um,
I did like that movie though. That's the one that came out
yeah, it
like
was
a
not
year or two
bad.
before
That
the
was like the,
pandemic.
yeah, that was the one with all the ladies
Women.
instead. And it wasn't bad. He did
Right.
Syriana, which I think was pretty good. Um, yeah, he's done tons of stuff. Like Soderbergh's been around forever. So, um,
Cool. Well, Black Bag,
yes,
2025. I I've been hearing nothing but good things about it just from advertisements on TV. And I looked online. It got 97 on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, and the audience was quite high too. It looks like it is, well, 72. It's good enough, but 97 from the critics. So I was like, all right, let me look into this, given that it's got good ratings. I like Kate Blanchett's work, and I feel like I haven't
yeah.
seen any of her films in like the past year or two. So I was overdue. And then Michael Fassbender is the main character, George.
Hmm.
So this is a modern like spy drama coupled with like a whodunit mystery where you have husband and wife. Husband is played by Michael Fassbender. He plays George Woodhouse, and then Kate Blanchett plays the wife, Catherine, and they're both agents within this. I don't even like this, I guess, agency that does some form of surveillance and stuff. And I don't know if they're like directly tied to the government and whatnot, but they work in just basically intelligence. That's from my understanding. And it takes place in England, so all the actors are will have accents from the UK. And you find out in the beginning Michael Fassbender's character George meets up with an agent like in a parking lot, like outside of it looks like a restaurant or a pub, and he's informed and given intel that this device that has like some very, I guess, powerful information or could really cause destruction has been leaked, and it's a point where there are five people who are suspected of causing and having access to this device, which is pretty much given to him privately. And one of the five names is his wife, who also works for the agency. And then the other four people are other agents. Clarissa, who was played by Marissa Bella, who is an up and coming actress. I saw her a couple months ago. She played Amy Winehouse. And
Oh,
then
okay.
Tom Burke, who plays Freddie, who apparently is like in a relationship with Clarissa, and then another couple, um, James Stokes, who is an agent. He's played by Reggie John Page, and then the psychologist who he's intimate with. I don't know if they're like an actual couple per se, but she's played by Naomi Harris, and her character is Dr. Zoe Vaughn. So each of them are agents, and they have their own little role within this intelligence firm or whatever we want to call it. And what ends up happening is that George invites these two couples to dinner. So that you've got the four suspects plus his wife, who he can't even tell, like, hey, you're a suspect here. And it's almost like you're figuring out who is the person who has this secret information which can potentially cause a lot of damage. So during the dinner, it's almost like a psychological warfare where they're eating and they're asking them like very personal questions to sort of like turn on each other at the very beginning. And it's almost comical because you find out that like two of the couples, there's like infidelity going on outside of the married couple. So you're just like, what is happening right now? Like a bit confused. But then next day, they're all like at the office as if like nothing actually happened. And everything's for the most part through the eye. Well, I should say through the eyes, but the protagonist is George Michael Fassbender's character, and he's trying to figure out what's happening. And after that dinner, a lot of it points to like his wife being the person who is holding all this information, and you're actually trying to figure out like is she actually responsible for this, or is she being framed, and it are one of the other four people essentially trying to put evidence to make him doubt his own relationship. So it's a major theme of trust between two partners, but also just trust among colleagues too. So I don't want to give anything away because I do want you to see it and our viewers to see it. But overall, it was good. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of hard to follow, and I feel like I'm not really the prime candidate audience member for an espionage type of film. It wasn't as like easy to follow as for example, like I loved Red Sparrow. I think that came out in like 2018,
Hmm.
2019 with Jennifer Lawrence. Like
Hmm.
that was really up my alley and easy to follow. But this was kind of, and I don't know if it's just because of the British accents where I'm like, what are they saying? Because sometimes they're talking so fast, where I felt a little confused. I'm like, what are they talking about? What are they saying? And also just the whole sequence of the movie. There was definitely like a lot of action that was going on and such. And they all have to like hold their cards close to their bodies because they don't want to, well, they have to have their own secrets. But anyway, when um, the reason it's called Black Bag is essentially Michael Fassbender's character and Cate Blanchett's character, when they ask each other questions about something related to their work and it's not something that they can divulge, they say black bag as almost like a code word for
Yeah.
like I can't divulge that.
It's like their safe word almost.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, but it was definitely and it was quick too. I think it was only like an hour and a half. Very quick film. Uh, Definitely up your alley, Kevin. It's got a clue sense to it of like who done it. So you're trying to figure out, and they're all like very shady, all of them. And
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender seems the only character with like a true moral compass. So, and you try to figure out is his wife actually just a good liar to protect him, as in her husband, or is she just being shady and is she going to turn on her own husband?
Yeah. It gives me like less funny Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes from back in the day.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the person I saw it with was even saying like sort of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with like the whole couple dynamic and stuff, but I didn't find this really funny per se. I mean, there are some laughs in the film, but yeah, there was definitely more action and more of a espionage drama slash mystery than anything else than actually being funny.
Yeah. It looks like, yeah, more of a drama with wit than a comedy.
Correct.
The characters
Yeah.
can probably be witty enough, but it's not a comedy. From what I saw, it's more about the action and the drama.
Yeah. So, and that's that. I'm not like the prime audience member of something like this, but I don't know, like from the previews, it seemed like it was going to be more of like a dramatic, like sexy film. I mean, they just showed Kate Blanchett, like who has like an amazing figure for her age, by the way, and a
Hmm.
lot of like silk lingerie, like pajamas and stuff. And you're like, wow, like, is this gonna, I don't know, I thought it was going to be a little different going in than it
Yeah.
actually was. Uh, but yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I like it's I saw it. It's good to go on to the next type of thing. It's not
Yeah.
something that I'll rewatch.
When it's not for you, even if it's good, you're like, whatever.
I could
If
do
it's not for
without
you,
it.
it's not for you. Yeah. So that makes sense.
But yeah, like I said, Red Sparrow, like I like that movie. I saw that like at least once or twice after I saw it with Jennifer Lawrence, but also I think the story is more about her, and it's more of a character analysis of someone who was like done wrong by the system after she was hurt. Did you see Red Sparrow?
I don't think I did. I wanted to, and I thought I did, but I can't remember a thing about it, so I'm assuming I did not.
I really like that movie. It's basically, and I'm just leaving this in because that's like the last or like real, I think, espionage movie that I can say like I actually enjoyed. But it takes place in Russia, and I forgot her name or of the character, but Jennifer Lawrence is the main character, and she is a ballerina, and she gets injured at the beginning. You find out like that was intentional, like she was set up to break her legs so that she can never dance again. And she ends up, as a result, in order to like pay to support her and her mother, she goes into the spy world, and her uncle is like this very corrupt person, and he gives her the keys to learn how to be a spy in like the Russian government. And it's like very sexual because she gets set up pretty much in the beginning when she starts being this spy on how to seduce this mafia person. And then yeah, it's kind of disturbing, but also just I don't know, I think it was easier to follow, but more engaging, whereas this had a lot of characters, and this was again more of a mystery, whereas Red Sparrow was more of just her taking, let's just say, a shift in career choice, not by choice.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a very Black Widow feel. Like if you're
Yep,
watching the MCU, it had a very Black Widow feel to it.
for sure. It
I
was
remember
cool.
that.
It was very cool. Yeah, that one I liked much more than this. This was just, I don't know. But yeah, I think you'd like, I mean, there's a reason why it's getting I think good press from the critic
Yeah,
side. I mean, 72 I think is even a good score or percentage from those that are in the audience. So it's in theaters now. Most likely will probably go to stream, I guess, within the next month or
probably.
so.
Yeah,
We'll see.
month and a half, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, funny enough, speaking of something that had a 72% audience score,
Mm.
I watched the show behind me, Adolescence, on Netflix. It has a 99% from the critics and an 8.4 on IMDb. This is a 4 episode miniseries, and I think the reason that the critics are so high and the audience is not is that this is maybe one of the most technically masterful TV series I have ever seen in my life. So, plot wise, it's very straightforward. This isn't a movie, or sorry, it's not a series that's gonna like blow your mind with plot twists. The gist of the series, I don't want to give too much away, but a 13-year-old boy, this is all in the UK, a 13-year-old boy is accused of murder. And the entire series is about the basically the ramifications, repercussions, and the reactions of the people around him related to that. Um, it takes place over the 4 episode. Each episode's around an hour long. They take place. The first one's obviously the day of. Um, the second one is not too much further to like the next couple of days, and then the next one is several weeks later, and then I think that the last one is a couple months later. And so one thing just right out of the gate is each episode is an hour long, and they're in real time. So you get a 1 hour stretch of what's happening in these people's lives. What makes this show just insane is that not only is it done in real time, each episode is done with one single shot. The camera never, ever, ever cuts away from everybody and a scene change or anything. So the opening episode starts with two cops in a car. They're talking, whatever they're getting. You don't realize what they're about to do. They're about to go arrest this boy because he's been accused of murder. But they're sitting in their car having a normal conversation. They get a call. They say, okay, we're ready to go. They go raid the house. They arrest this little boy. They deal with his family. They get him in the van. And if you're not paying attention, it's really easy to miss. But They get in the car, they get in the van, it follows them to the police station, they book the kid, they take him to his room. All this stuff that happens in the entirety of the episode is a single camera shot. So the camera goes from these two police cars into the house, follows them, arresting him, goes back into the van, goes to the police station, follows them around, never breaks away. The second episode kind of winds all over the place. I think the entire episode takes place at a school. Um, and some crazy stuff happens there that makes the camera work impressive. And at the very end, there's a shot where it's looking at this girl, and then all of a sudden the camera starts to raise up, and it goes up crazy high. So it's on a drone, flies down the street, and then comes into a completely different scene. And reading up on it, they literally were filming, had a dude filming with the camera while they're filming, attached it to a drone so that the drone could do the shot and keep it as one continuous shot through the entire episode. So every episode is done that way. So it is an incredibly emotional series. I would say it's really interesting in the fact that I don't feel like there's any surprises in this. This is not a twisty, turny, like trying to blow you out of the water and sneak something in there on you kind of show. This is about human emotion. It's about immersing you into what is happening with these people, and it feels so real because you don't ever get a break in this hour that you're watching. It's always moving along. It does sometimes cut from person to person, like it'll follow one person to a room and then follow another person out of the room, but it never breaks. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it's really impressive, and all the way up until the end, the last shot is a gut punch. The end of the first episode's a gut punch. Like it'll get you emotionally, but like I said, I don't think there's ever a moment in the show where I was surprised by what happened, right? So this is all about emotion and experience, but from a technical standpoint, it's absolutely incredible. Like it's ridiculous to do this. So if you look at a regular 1 hour TV show, right, they have anywhere from 40 to 60 scenes. Like there's a lot of scenes in a TV show, and they will film those scenes, and then they'll film those scenes from a different angle, and they'll do different takes, and they'll try to get the actors, to do it better or differently or whatever. So in any given episode, even if you just say on average there's 50 scenes in a show and they do 5 takes per scene, that's 250 takes of of done for a show. So there's a lot of opportunity there to like fine tune and get it right. Because this show, each episode is done in a single shot. Their goal was to do 10 takes of each episode, right? Because they're not going to stop. They're going to film the whole thing. And so that required like a theater level dedication rather than a film level dedication. Because when you're doing a TV show or you're doing a movie, when you go to set, you only have to know a couple of scenes and you're going to do those, and then you're going to go. You don't have to memorize your whole script. You don't have to, you know, look
Right.
at it like a theatrical show. When you do a show in theater, you have to remember your script for, 1.5, 2.5 hours, and there's a lot to remember. And so they treated this very much like theater. So they spent a lot more time rehearsing. They spent a lot of time together when they started working on their blocking, which is the stage action and the way they were going to move in these locations in their rehearsals. They included the cameraman at that time. So he became a part of this almost like dance choreography where he could never be in the way of the shot, but they had to be able to move around to get the shot they wanted and keep going. And so, they said there was definitely episodes that they shot that took more than 10 takes, right? Um, but like realistically, they were right around that. And so it's really wild because um, it's not like a special effects laden show either, right? So these takes are very much following the people. There's one crazy one where they're in a room, somebody jumps out a window to run, and it's a ground level window, but they jump out of this window and they start running. Cameraman has to go out another window, hands the
To
basically,
follow him.
yeah, behind the scenes, he hands the camera to somebody else, and that person follows. But like, it's smooth, like it's so perfect, and
Mm.
it is absolutely insane, like just what they do and how they do it, and is like when you start to watch it, it's almost distracting when you realize what's happening because you start to look for without if you catch what's happening but don't fully believe it, you look for seams. Like you look for like maybe did they cut this together with AI and like blend it together or anything like that. But they didn't. And so the other thing that's really, really, really impressive about this is doing this in the way that they did with these single long shots. It also doesn't give the actors a break for an hour. So when they are emoting the way they are, when they're putting out what they are putting out, it's just to me, it's that much more impressive because, for the entire 1 hour take, they got basically one shot at it.
Hmm.
And there's the third episode centers very much around this 13-year-old boy. And a lot of the episode is spent with him talking to a therapist. And he goes through a range. This kid is incredible in this scene. Like, there is not a bad performance in this show. There is not an unbelievable performance in the show. It's incredible. Like, it's a little heavy, because of the content, because it's about a kid.
Hmm.
The one thing, like I was explaining to somebody, they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to watch it because I thought, it's too dark. I don't know if I can deal with." I think they said suicide, and I was like, "That you don't have to worry about that." I think, other than the murder that they talk about, nobody else dies in it, right? So it doesn't get so dark
It's
that it's like
all
that.
the aftermath, right? Did they do any like they don't do any flashbacks? It's
There's
just
zero flashbacks, so each one is literally real time. Each one is 1 hour in the life of the people in this situation.
it sounds like and maybe I'm not I know you watched this a few months ago, but is it juror number two?
Yes, sort of, but juror number two definitely has more flashbacks and all
Oh,
that.
that one actually has flashbacks versus it
Yeah,
in real time. Okay.
yeah. This
Yeah, it
is.
sounds interesting for sure. And was this inspired by something that happened in England or a
I
book or you
thought
don't
I
know?
saw somewhere that it was like loosely based on a true story, but I didn't find anything
Sure.
definitive on that, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But
Yeah.
like, if you can handle like some heavier material, I would recommend the show to anybody because it's even if you take out the
Sure.
ridiculousness of what they were able to do, the acting is incredible. Like the dad is I think his name is Stephen Graham, and I've kind of followed this guy's career off and on for a long time. He was in a movie called Snatch with Brad Pitt and Jason Statham and a few other people that was kind
Hmm.
of like an action comedy in the early 2000s. And I mean, he was such a doofy character and, kind of silly and
Right.
all that. And he's kind of a goofy looking dude. And like, he's not like a Clooney looking kind of guy, but
Right.
I mean, just the work that he does in this as the dad that has to go through this. Because once they book the kid, laws are obviously a little different in the UK,
Sure.
especially when you're dealing with a child like this. They ask them, they're like, basically, you can have one parent with you to go through all of the things you have to go through, right? So any questioning, anything besides your lawyer, you can have one parent in there to advise you. And the expectation is that he would ask his mom,
Mm.
because little boys and their moms, but he says his
Yeah.
dad, and so his dad's in there all the time.
Right.
Um, and I mean, it's just like I don't want to give anything away, and it's funny because I don't want to give anything away, but at the same time, like when you watch it, there's no surprises in this thing. Um, but
Yeah.
But there definitely are
I
moments.
have questions, but obviously I don't want to ask because I'm like, maybe I should just watch it because I'm like, did his parents know? Do they not know? Is it like sort of like we talked about 2 weeks ago with Brian Laundrie, like his parents that are very much so just standing behind their son, and if he was the one who did it, right? Because we don't know that. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
the story, right? But I mean, Brian Laundrie's family, for example, with
Yeah.
the Gabby Petito story, they were fully aware of what happened, so
Yeah.
much so that they would be willing to um, keep that secret to the grave
Yeah.
if need be, you know? And I think some parents are like that. There are parents that love their child so much that they're willing to lie and not rat their kid out if it
Mm.
means them, you know. But yeah, I guess that's more of like where my mind goes. Or are they completely shocked by this whole thing, having no idea that their son, daughter, you know, or their child was A, capable of something like this, and B, believe based on evidence or whatever that this is actually something that their child
Yeah. I won't give anything
did.
away because a lot of stuff
Yeah,
gets explained as it goes. But I will say, at least in the
sure.
first episode, as you start to watch it, um, the parents seem shocked by what's going on, right? So they've got to deal with
Yeah,
that too. And he's got an older sister, who is, somewhere between 15 and 17, probably 18. She's talking about going to
sure.
university, but she's not there yet.
Right.
Um, and they're a close family, and it's just really emotionally impactful.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And like I said, if the acting wasn't incredible, I don't think this would be the same thing, even for as technically amazing as it is. But the acting actually, like, my biggest fear for this come Emmy time and Golden Globe time is that it came out too soon. Like, it came out early, and by the time we start talking about Emmys and Golden Globes, this will have been eight,
Forgotten.
9, 10 months. Yeah. I really hope
Interesting.
that it gets nominated for some stuff. It should get cinematography because it's insane. I think the kid should really be considered because what he does, he plays like a young 13-year-old boy
Hmm.
so well. I don't know how old he actually is.
It
Um,
says 15. I Google, well, at least now he is. I don't know when it was
yeah,
taped, right? It could have been taped a few years ago or a year ago. I don't
yeah.
know.
I,
But
I I would bet he was at least 14, if not 13, when they started the process of it, because they would have spent so much time, like I said, in rehearsal before even filming.
yeah.
So,
I will say though, Kevin, and I'm just going to equate it to last year, Baby Reindeer, which got a lot of notoriety and I believe won at least two, three Emmys, came
mhm.
out early April 2024. So I wouldn't say, I mean, granted, I didn't see it, right? I don't know if it has that social currency as like Baby Reindeer did, but if it's something that people are talking about enough, it will definitely get pushed and be a topic and
Yeah, I can
piece
say
of
that
conversation.
I didn't watch it because it popped up on Netflix. So like I turned on Netflix a couple of times, saw it on there, and I was like, yeah, whatever, kept moving because there was nothing
Sure.
that felt like particularly compelling about their little blurb and even the clips of it. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch, this kind of family drama. Um,
Right.
but like a week after it came out, because it's only been out for like 2 weeks. So like a week after
So
it
it's
came
really new.
out,
Yeah.
yeah, I started seeing stuff about just how amazing this was and how at one point it was
Hmm.
100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now it's 99. But like at one point it was
Yeah.
blowing away the critics, and then the audience scores were pretty good. And so, I put it on my list. I waited, and then I finally got to it and started watching it. And I was just like, this is something really special. Like I knew maybe 15 or 20 minutes in that I was going to love this thing because the cop that is in the first episode, he's got to arrest this kid, and during the process of arrest, he's a cop. Like he's really hard. But
Hmm.
he's kind. Like he's telling the family, this suck. Yeah, this is what we have to do.
Right.
And then once they get to the station, like he's really very open about what's available to them in the
Yeah.
capacity that he can help them and all that. Like, he's not a bad guy. He's in a crappy situation. It's never fun to arrest a 13-year-old kid.
No.
Um, but yeah, it's really. It's really good. Like I would recommend, like I said, if you can handle the heavier material, um, I think it's
Hmm.
maybe heavier if you have a kid, especially if you have a kid around 13,
Hmm.
because of the impact that it has on the family.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
Maybe if you don't, it may actually make it a little easier to watch, but I don't think any less impressive. Like the performances are awesome.
And does the
Um,
kid seem odd, like when you first meet the character? Does he seem like a bit
when you first
off?
meet him, he is in bed getting arrested. Like you're
Okay.
because you have 1 hour to meet this kid in the worst moment of his life, right? Like he is literally
Mm,
woken up in bed, getting arrested, getting booked, going
sure.
down, waiting for his attorney, talking to the cops, talking like, but he is for the situation he's in, he's you feel like you know who he is. And as that episode plays out, the end of the episode is a gut punch, but at the same time, like the way they build it up, you see it coming. Like it's not a surprise ending, but it
Hmm.
still gets you. So definitely
Gotcha.
like yeah,
Okay. I might actually put this on my list because it sounds fascinating and
yeah,
yeah.
it's compelling. Like that's yeah, it's fantastic. I definitely would tell pretty much anybody to watch it unless you're a super like defensive parent, which
Yeah.
is totally fine. But I could see this like triggering a parent to a degree, depending on,
Yeah. I'm
your own
thinking of my
children.
friends that are middle school teachers or even high school teachers, just
Yeah, that would be interesting, I think, for them because they would see these students. The scary part is, I think,
yeah.
especially as a teacher, you would probably see this kid and a lot of your students in some form or fashion.
Yeah, that's probably
Um,
where it's like a little too
especially,
much.
yeah, especially when you get
Too close
into
to home.
the middle, late second episode and then the time that
Hmm.
he spends with the therapist in the third episode. Like you get a lot of stuff that you're like, if you've got kids that are that age, when
Right.
they're explaining just kind of the life of a teenager and the things that happen,
Hmm.
you're like, yeah, you probably know a kid that has dealt with some of this stuff. So, um,
Sure. Interesting.
it's fascinating,
Yeah.
but amazing. So,
Cool.
yeah. So yeah, go watch it. Adolescence, Netflix, amazing. So, okay, so we can move on to another streaming service, Peacock. You watched Long Bright River with Amanda Seyfried?
Yes. I
I've
am halfway through, so I didn't
okay,
finish it yet.
yeah,
But I do like Amanda Seyfried a lot. I've seen her in quite a bit over the years, and I actually haven't seen her in any series. I've seen her in movies and mostly musicals, to be honest with you, between Mamma Mia,
mhm,
Les Mis. I mean, the first movie I ever saw her in was Mean Girls, but I feel
yeah,
like that's not the true Amanda Seyfried, right? Because she's a very bright woman who has a lot of range that's not showcased at all playing Karen Smith, right?
yeah, yeah.
Who, yeah, her character's a dimwit, but nonetheless, this is a very different role for her. And I just looked this up. I heard that this was a book first, but this book is actually written by a professor at Temple University, which makes sense because the actual show takes place in Philadelphia.
Okay,
And it's about a cop named Michaela, also nicknamed Mickey Fitzgerald, who is someone who's in the force and she covers some like pretty, I guess, dark areas in Philly and just is, let's just say, a watchful eye of the streets of Philly, and particularly like trying to look out for the women that have made the choice over the years to put themselves in not the best places, whether it be drug related or just mental health related, whatever it may be. So you're from the first like episode, you see she's very close with this officer that I guess because they match you up with somebody and you find out that I guess at the beginning of the series that she was close with this officer and then he got hurt on duty, but you don't know why or what actually happened. But she's pretty much matched up with someone new, and you could just tell she's a bit guarded. And she keeps on fixating on all of these deaths because within like a span of a few weeks, women that are on the street keep on dying, which they say is an overdose because she visits, I guess, the department where they do the autopsy, and the woman who is doing the autopsies says, yeah, it's not an overdose. It looks like they had insulin in their system. Something's going on. That's bizarre. And she is looking at all the women that they're bringing in, and you're wondering, it's like, what is she looking for? She just seems so focused, as if like she wants to find someone, or just who is she looking for? And you see flashbacks of her earlier in her career as a cop, and them arresting or finding this woman with pink hair on the street, and you find out that the woman who is on the street with pink hair, who looks like she's homeless after the first episode or at the end of the first episode, happens to be her sister. So she almost seems like she is intentionally choosing this avenue and patrolling these streets because she wants to be a watchful eye for her sister specifically. And she realizes that even though like the force says they're there to protect, she doesn't really trust her colleagues and those that are in the force. And I think she is motivated to oversee and be almost like a guardian, well, not a guardian, but definitely like someone that is taking care of the women that are in these not so great neighborhoods on the streets in Philadelphia. And she finds out that her sister in like the second episode hasn't been seen in weeks. And at this point, it's a mystery of, all right, who has lured her sister into a car? Because you find out she went into a car with somebody and doesn't know where, or even like the people that she talks to on the streets, and she knows who her friends are. They have no clue where her sister is. So it's more of a mystery at this point, trying to figure out where the sister went, and then doing flashbacks of just their childhood and how unfortunately they had death of a mother when they were both young. Father wasn't as involved as he should have, but both girls went very different paths. The younger sister, Casey, who ends up on the streets, has a drug problem. Mickey, played by Amanda Seyfried, is very focused. She's ambitious, an academic. You find out she went to UPenn at some point, and she has a young son who's under the age of 10, who maybe he's closer to 6, 7, 8. Let's say between like 7 and 10. And he has no idea about her past, but she lives with her son and is no longer speaking to the father of the son. So it goes into like her personal life and just how she became the way she is, and ultimately how her sister is somewhat estranged, but even though they have a severed relationship, she's still looking out for her and is so worried because she hasn't seen her on the streets for a while, and is trying to figure out like who took her sister and is she still alive, because they're bringing dead body after dead body the past couple weeks for women on the streets, or just women that are in the neighborhood, and they don't know who's doing this. Is this someone who is out of town, in town, someone who lives on the streets, or is this someone on the inside who is a cop? That's
Hmm.
sort of what they're trying to figure out at this point, as I'm halfway through the series. But overall, it's not my favorite. It's more just I need to figure out, or I'm just watching to see like who is responsible, and I'm assuming the sister's not going to be dead. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but because that would be pretty tragic if she dies. But yeah, it's I think an insight, well, a real look at the streets of Philly and just how unfortunately drugs really mess people up, and adults will often make bad decisions, which will put them in predicaments like what unfortunately happens here.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks interesting for sure. And I, it's kind of a petty small thing, but I like that they didn't, pretty Amanda Seyfried up in this. Like she looks like she works pretty hard as a cop. I mean, she's a naturally pretty girl, right? But they don't put her in a ton of makeup and stuff. Like she looks,
Yeah, but it's also a little bit unbelievable, to be honest with you, Kevin, because she's just such a a sweet girl at heart. I just don't believe that's like an Amanda Seyfried type would be a cop. She's not hard. Like she doesn't have that like hard exterior, and you get that she's smart in the series, but is she the type that's actually going to go on the streets and hit the pavement? Like I just don't believe it. And she's very soft-spoken too in some ways. I don't know if it was the best casting or the best role for her per se. I'm not saying she can't do serious roles. I just don't know if this was it for her personally. I thought like someone I don't want to I don't know who would do better. Just I wouldn't have casted her.
I'm wondering here who produced and directed it, if there's any kind of connection to
Oh,
her. Like
between.
if they, well, yeah, if
Well,
she
I
was
think
involved in production or.
she is, I believe, involved with production. Let me double check because I believe I saw her name, which is probably how she got involved in that project, to be honest with you. Because I know she was in something, she was in a series, what was it on Hulu, where she played that girl who did that massive scam in like the medical field.
Hmm,
Uh,
sounds familiar, but not
yeah,
sure
that
what it
was like
is.
a pretty big series. It came out like within the past like 5 years. Amanda talks.
Yeah, she's listed as an executive producer. She's not a producer, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's very possible that, somebody picked this thing out of a pile and said, "Yeah, this is something we should make, and let's get this
see who's willing
exact
to do it.
get this
Yeah.
or get this exact person that we want attached to it."
Yeah, she was in The
Or
Dropout, Kevin. That's the one I was thinking of. That
okay,
was the show that came out in 2022. It's about Elizabeth Holmes develops healthcare technology that puts millions of patients at risk and loses everything in the blink of an eye. Yeah, I didn't see it, but a lot of people talked about it. That came out 2 years ago. Yeah, this like I don't see a lot of people watching this, honestly, and it is pretty slow. And I'm also not one to be like, oh, crime dramas, but I don't know. I liked her, and I was like, I have Peacock for the month. Let's see where this goes.
well, yeah, it's funny because it rates out pretty much the same across the board. So it's a 7 on IMDb, a
Yeah,
71% from the critics, and a 61% from the audience. So it really falls in that low 70, high
yeah,
60s kind of range overall.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I remember seeing it pop up. I'm a little curious about it. It seems like it's a limited series, so it should, in theory,
yeah,
have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and not have to carry on beyond this.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yep.
But all right, cool. Well, then since I don't have anything else, you can close out the show with Stillwater that you just watched,
Okay. Yeah,
which
I watched this like a week and a half ago, and I think this is my fa the out of the three things I'm reviewing this evening, this is my favorite for sure.
okay.
So this came out in summer 2021. It stars Matt Damon, who plays a real Southern bumpkin from Stillwater, Oklahoma, and he plays a guy, Bill, who is traveling to and from Oklahoma to Marseille, France, and you find out that his daughter Allison has been in prison for 5 years after allegedly killing or has been arrested and charged for killing her former lover who lived with her. I believe they're grad students in Marseille, France. So Abigail Breslin plays his daughter, Allison, and you find out that she was given a 9-year sentence and she's already served 5 years. And it sounds like Matt Damon's character, Bill, every couple months will fly out just to, I guess, check in on her, bring her things from Stillwater, Oklahoma. And this particular time that he flies out, he gives her some things and she gives him a note to give to one of the attorneys, I guess, that was defending her or who was overseeing her case. And she is instructing him not to read it and stuff, but he ends up reading the note anyway and giving it to this attorney who is refusing to reopen her case, but in the note it says, I believe I know who, or I know who actually killed my lover, basically, and please reopen this case. Even though it's like a 9-year sentence, she's already more than halfway through. She's adamant and having this reopened, and the attorney said there's no way that anyone's going to take this case. And you see Allison and Bill meet in like one of those rooms where you can have visitors, and she's pleading with him like, please, I need to, I didn't kill her. I loved her. She was my partner in life and stuff. And Matt Damon, he you find out has like a pretty dark past with using and drugs and just not being the best father. And he's at this point 5 years in, based on that conversation and reading that letter to the attorney overseeing the case, that he wants to find this guy who apparently she believes killed her former lover that died, that she was living with, and find this killer and bring this to justice so that his daughter can be dismissed and found not guilty, and therefore, sent back to Stillwater so that, he can make things right as her father, and life goes on. So he's on a quest to find this guy, and as he's on this quest, he's in a hotel and he befriends this woman and her young daughter, who's maybe like 5, 6, 7. The daughter's name is Maya, and Virginie, or the character who's played by Camille Cotton, who's, I believe, also a French actress. She is the mother's single mom who's playing this woman who's an aspiring actress, and he gets very close with this woman and her daughter, where over time he ends up moving in with them after meeting them at the hotel he's staying at. They get their own place, and uh, this woman ends up being like his translator and helps him with trying to communicate with those to try to find and track down this guy. And while this is happening, he tells the daughter, like, I want to help out. And she's like, no, I don't want you to help out. I don't want to see you. Just like, don't get involved and whatnot. And he even lies to her and says, oh, yeah, they're willing to reopen the case, and, makes her believe that this is, there's still hope when there isn't at this point. So he's trying to track this guy down, and his daughter's able to like show him what the guy looks like based on images from social media. He goes to the bar where she meets this guy. Apparently, like the night of the murder, she met this guy at the bar, and that he then takes her keys and breaks into their apartment house, wherever they're living, and kills her lover. Now, you end up finding more. I don't want to give it away, but throughout the film, it's revealed that there's a lot that we didn't know about the relationship between the two girls, and that this guy was more than just like a random guy she met at the bar. So you learn a lot more, and it's almost like two films in one, because you have this mystery and just being able to hunt down this guy who allegedly actually killed the roommate who she had a lover. Oh, she's a roommate, lover, and it's also very controversial because Abigail Breslin's character is white, and her lover, who was murdered, is, I guess, Arab. So she's not Caucasian, and I guess that's controversial too because it's the race comes into play as well in this film. So, and you've come to find too is that there is like a racial divide in Marseille
Hmm.
while we're, watching this and such. So, yeah, it was fascinating. So it's like that going on in the film, and then Matt Damon getting closer to the woman that is helping him translate and stuff, and then he ends up moving in with them and pays bills so that they're almost like roommates in this thing. So he's helping her out financially and also picking up their daughter as if like that's his own kid. So in, I guess, like a 6 to 9 month span that he's in Marseille, they become closer and closer. It's more just like they're roommates and helping one another. And then, as you can imagine, they get so close that they form an intimate relationship and start becoming, more like partners. So you have that thrown in as well into the film, but it was a bit long, but I did actually really like it, and the ending's a bit unexpected, so I do recommend it. It's not based on a true story. However, it is inspired by the Amanda Knox drama that unfolded in the early 2000s. And for those of you who are not familiar with Amanda Knox, she was a international, I guess, an American who studied internationally in Italy, and her female roommate was murdered, and she was charged with the murder. And there was a lot of press of just her kissing her boyfriend at the time, and there's theories that her and the boyfriend killed her or she killed her, and we don't really know. There weren't like that many details, but I guess her DNA was found in the room because like obviously they live together, and she was in jail for at least I'd imagine at least like 2 to 5 years, something like that. And I remember
Mm,
watching like a 2020 series or something like that, 60 Minutes, one of those docs a couple years ago, and she was finally let go. But it's interesting because after I saw previews for this, I was like, oh, this is a lot like the Amanda Knox story, but not exactly. I wasn't sure. But basically, the Amanda Knox story inspired the making of this film. And then there's drama too, where Amanda Knox is pissed that like Matt Damon was a part of a project like this to promote like a film that was like sort of similar to her story because it gave her like a bad look, and also I'm sure it gave her some trauma as well, like knowing that this came out. But yeah, overall, I thought it was fascinating, and it's real. Unfortunately, you just got to be careful when you're traveling. And I mean, granted, it's to study abroad situations. Like I remember I studied abroad in England and France between my bachelor's and my master's in 2013. And I remember my parents were a little like, "Are you sure you want to study abroad?" And because of like the Amanda Knox story. And granted, it was only a summer session for 2 weeks. But even just convincing my parents to be like, we're actually given housing by the university. Like we actually have a campus and we can't, like, we're not just living in quarters with random people. Like it's a campus that's gated only for our university. So giving them some form of comfort, etc. But I remember my parents being concerned knowing like the Amanda Knox story. I don't blame them
yeah.
too. That was pretty crazy. Granted, like we'll never know like the actual truth with that, unfortunately, but it's still kind of scary knowing that story and how she was an American student. Just if you're in jail in another country, it's just a whole series of events and things that are worrisome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really easy to get caught up in that stuff, and there you're not going to get the same level of um, legal support that you would get here because you're
Exactly.
a foreigner, and they're gonna blame you before they blame somebody else in a lot of cases.
Totally.
So
And this girl, at least, I mean, I can't speak to Amanda Knox if I'm assuming she knew some Italian if she was going to school there, but Allison played by Abigail Breslin was fluent in French. So she was speaking to the attorney. You see her speak to the guard in French entirely. But I think also this film sort of showcases Matt Damon trying to repair the relationship he has with his daughter. And by doing that, or in efforts of doing that, he's determined to find this guy that she mentioned she believes is the person who, or is pretty confident this is the person who killed her her former lover. So, but yeah, it was definitely like a weird ending, not what I expected, and for sure I do recommend it. I mean, ratings wise, it was I wonder just how much influence people had in rating this film based on their prior knowledge of the Amanda Knox story, because it was given a 75% by the critics, and it looks like the audience gave it a 72. So actually, I mean, it's pretty close.
yeah,
It would definitely dragged on longer than it needed to be frank with you, but I think it's one of those where it could have been shorter, and I don't know if there was a need for a romance thrown in there too, to be honest with you, because it's almost like it's two movies in one.
Yeah.
And you actually feel for this guy because I think based on, which I thought was really nice, he's trying to put himself in this, almost like make this new family with this woman, her daughter, and he gets so close to the daughter, it's almost like he's trying to give himself a second shot at being a dad
Hmm.
and make things right that he wasn't able to do with his daughter who's now in jail. And I think he puts a lot of blame on himself regarding that too.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I would think it would be hard as a parent to take that on. And then when you see a little kid that doesn't have a parent, it's like that, even, subconsciously, it's the opportunity to be a better parent than you were and all
Totally.
that. So,
100%. And he means well. He's a good guy. You could tell, they talk about his drug past, et cetera. And it's funny, almost funny, because I was telling my friend who I watched the movie with, I was like, he doesn't belong there. Like redneck construction guy from Oklahoma coming to Marseille, France. It's almost unbelievable a bit. I don't know. It's just not very fitting. He's playing his country music while he's out in like driving in Marseille. It's kind of I find it funny.
yeah, just a little bit of culture shock there.
Totally. But I enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was good, and Matt Damon did a great job acting as he normally
Yeah.
does. Yeah, and he still looks good.
Yeah.
He's what, in his 50s now? He
Yeah, something
still
like
looks
that.
good.
He's yeah, he totally looks like a like Oklahoma like farmer dad though for sure in this.
Yeah, which is funny because like he's a true Bostonian in many ways, as we
Yeah.
know from like Good Will Hunting and other films, and just even when you hear him interviewed, he's just so proud to be part of Boston,
Yeah.
like from Boston, that is. So yeah, he has like the full look where it's like, okay, this guy actually, and he sounds the part too. Like it is believable that at least his character is from Stillwater.
Hmm.
So yeah, and in him like communicating with this little French girl, it's actually quite adorable.
Yeah.
Like their bond and the dynamic, and the girl, the one who plays the girl, that girl Maya, she's a great actress too. And even though like she speaks French in a good portion or for a good amount of the film, even just her learning English and playing the part, I thought she did a good job.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right, so give it a watch. Where was it streaming?
I watched it on Tubi.
Oh, okay. Okay. It might be streaming
Yeah.
somewhere else. I wonder
Oh,
if I
it
can answer
definitely
that.
is. Yeah, but I liked it. I just remember seeing a trailer for it, but I never got to see it. And then once I came across it on Tubi, oh, it's on Peacock. What am I saying? Did I watch it on Peacock? Or was it Tubi? I watched it on one of those.
It's definitely on Peacock. So if you've got Peacock, you can watch it.
That's probably, yeah. Give it a
So
whirl.
yeah. All right, cool. Well, I don't have anything else for this week. I know um, we're going to try at home to get through Wicked this week because it's finally also on Peacock. Peacock's doing okay
Yay! I'm
right
so
now. It is
excited.
available for no money if you have Peacock already.
No
So
money.
I'm excited to watch that one. Um, I feel like something else either just came out or is coming out this week. There's stuff out there. The Severance just came to an end, so if you were waiting on the excuse me, if you were waiting on the finale, you can watch it all and get caught up. In a couple of weeks, I think we're still 3 weeks away. The Last of Us season 2 comes out. Um, I don't know. Like I feel like it almost feels like we're in a dead zone for the next couple of weeks, but I feel like something's coming out that I'm just missing. So we'll have
Snow
to see.
White. I'm seeing it on Tuesday
Are you
night.
seeing it? That one's
Yeah. Controversial.
definitely. Yeah, last I saw, it's like a 48% from the critics. So
My parents saw it this evening and they liked it, but then again, like they make their own
But that's like the thing. Like
opinion.
I keep hearing from people that it's really good, and then I see the reviews that say that it's not. So I don't know. I don't know
Sure.
what people are looking for. I don't know if the controversy
43.
there.
Ooh, people are straight up hating on this movie.
Is that the audience though, or the critics?
Audience. Oh, no, no, sorry, critics. Audience said 75. That is quite
See,
the
I would lean more toward the audience. I'd be curious
same.
to see what it is that
Critics don't
what the
like to.
yeah, what they don't like about it. Because my guess is it's some nitpicky stuff, or
Yeah.
they're caught up in the behind the scene drama that that we're not seeing when we watch it as just a regular viewer. But um, yeah, I'm curious for your take on it. I won't watch it until it streams for free somewhere. But I also
Yeah.
don't watch most of these live action remakes early because I just don't see the point. In a lot of cases, like it was already made, it doesn't need to be made into live action, but they're doing it, so
Yeah, they're doing all of them. And
yeah.
honestly, it is probably one of my least favorite animated Disney films. And I know it is the first full length
Hmm.
animated feature film because it came out in what, like the 40s or 50s?
Yeah.
Like the original Snow
Yeah.
White, that is.
Yeah.
Snow White, um, animated. Came out 1937. Forgive me,
Okay.
the 30s.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, but we talked about this a couple months ago. Everyone, well, not everyone, but we were saying like the casting choice of Rachel Ziegler was controversial for not for me or any of us, but for
Yeah. The
a lot
world
of
at
Amer
large. Yeah.
yeah, the world at large was like, gasp, she's not Snow White. And yeah, they're I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's,
It's just
I
funny what people complain about because I just saw a picture
so dumb.
today. I saw a picture today where somebody put up a picture of a girl that they were talking about casting for Pocahontas. This girl is clearly native. Like she looks some
Hmm.
kind of Native American, some kind of indigenous. And they're like, look how white her skin is. Why are they casting her as Pocahontas? I'm like, dude, why are you just looking for something like
Yeah.
I at least get a little bit of the Rachel Ziegler, like she's a little darker than Snow White ought to be, but whatever. But like, I'm like, come on, like if you're just looking for something to complain about, you'll find it in everything. Like if
I
that's your
read
jam, but
somewhere that someone questioned if she's actually Hispanic and there and
yeah,
then
like a
or
lot. Like I think in the
it's
casting processes,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah. They were like, are you act maybe just because her name is Rachel Ziegler and I mean she doesn't have an accent. She's very
yeah,
American. She grew up in Jersey. Like, hello, people
yeah,
that grew up in Jersey. I mean, I don't know, it's just it's bizarre. But
yeah.
and I think I read somewhere they're like, "Do you want me to introduce you to my abuelita or
Yeah,
like to
so
my
she yeah, she
grandparent?"
said that.
Something like
I,
that.
I'm pretty sure it was casting directors that were giving her a lot of crap. Like she was literally going into these interviews and they're like, "Well, are you actually Latina?" And she's like, "Dude, like come on."
But it was the intent to purposely cast a Latina person to play Snow White. That's the other thing too. What was the intent of casting? And then did they purposely do that just to make it more diverse? Sort of like what they did with um Little Mermaid with is it Haley
It's
Halle
Halle
Bailey?
Bailey. Yeah.
Halle Bailey, who I thought crushed it as Ariel, by the way. I really enjoyed
Yeah, she's a
watching
great
her.
singer for sure.
So
Yeah.
great. But I just it's weird because it's like almost as if they were like, let's cast someone Latina for the Snow White ro role to almost like upset people that are going to be critical of it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that might, I mean, I don't care at the end of the day, but it's just it's weird that like she's getting those questions and it's like, so what exactly are you looking for or were you looking for?
Yeah.
And then choosing Gal Gadot and then people were like, "Oh, is Gal Gadot really you know, is it believable that she would be envious of Rachel Ziegler's looks?" It's like just go with it. This is not
Yeah.
meant to be
Yeah,
scrutinized.
just let it go.
Go with it.
Yeah.
You're thinking too much into this. It's Disney. Don't think too much into this. Just go with it. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this thing ultimately lands because I think it's going to take a lot of crap for now, and I think the truth about it probably won't be like out there for a while. I think it'll have to settle in,
Hmm.
and then people will have to decide what they really think once the heat kind of wears off.
Well, I think that
Um,
it's controversial because of that, and also like Gal Gadot's Israeli. I think people that are like very adamant about, what's going on in Palestine may not want to see this film too, because Gal Gadot's in it, and her stance on what's going on in Israel/Palestine right now. So that's another layer of just controversy. So it's a shame that like all of these, not all of these films, but there are films that are getting there's just so much outside drama. Like Wicked had its own drama too. Remember with
yeah,
like Cynthia Erivo, and then there was
the
drama. I mean, with
poster and all that. Yeah,
right, or we talked about that, or even just Amelia Perez. Wait, did we talk about the drama with Amelia Perez?
yeah, yeah. Just how. Oh, not the most recent drama where it turns out she sucks.
Well, she made some comments, and long story short, well, we talked about how like Nora won Best Picture, but apparently like it was not meant to win Best Picture. Like it was gonna be Amelia, which I thought Nora was a I didn't love Lenore. I liked it, but I thought Lenore was a better film than Amelia Perez for sure. But I think they were really trying to lift up, the transgender community, even though like I thought the musical was like bizarre and whatnot. But I think because of what I forgot her last name, but the one that actually plays Amelia Perez,
Yeah,
Sophia, whatever her name is, like they, you know, uncovered some controversial tweets from the past 10, 15 years, that was enough to be like, nah, let's not give them awards, which
yeah,
is wild.
yep, yep. Politics gets in there for sure.
But so much so that affects them from winning awards. I don't know. I just thought it was just,
Yeah. So
uh, yeah. So I don't know, but it's there's too much tea that's like unnecessary. I just wish that wasn't part of it because then it like sort of takes away from the movie to some degree. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I think from what I've seen, I feel like you're probably going to come away from it happy.
I mean,
Uh,
it's Snow White. It's like a good feel. I mean, Disney should
yeah,
give you a smile and
yeah,
the good, all the good feels. So I don't know. My parents love it, but also I don't love every single thing my parents love, and vice versa. But if it gives any type of, and it doesn't have to be exactly like the animated film, right? But if I get a sense of joy and I feel like they're accomplishing, a greater means to the story, or there is some form of a happy end. Well, it doesn't even have to be a happy ending per se, but I mean, it is a happy ending in
yeah,
Snow White.
yeah.
It is, right? If they're able to bring that on the screen, I don't see why it wouldn't be a good film. So I don't know. There's just too many haters that they hated it before it even came out.
Yep.
And I bet a lot of these people that are hating it aren't seeing it for all these other dumb reasons. Um, and I'm just curious too, like how much politics drives these critics. And also audience score, really, before even seeing it, because then you have those preconceived notions and you have that disdain before it even is like rolled out on the screen. And that's, I think, just a bad way to view movies in general.
Yeah. Yeah. It should definitely be based on the product that is put out, not
Right.
what you think the product might be. So,
So, yeah, but I will make my own determination of how I think it is after watching it. And I mean, because there are films like I've watched and I loved or I really enjoyed watching, and I've, watched with women in my neighborhood and they didn't like it, or vice versa. I was like, why is this a big deal? And I do like Wicked a lot. Did I love Wicked? I don't know if well, I love the music. It's definitely a very magical movie, but I also didn't think it was like the best film of the year, whereas I think I have some friends that are like die hard wicked people. I'm gonna call them wicked people, right? Because there are wicked people out there that just like live and die by wicked. But it was definitely an experience and worth seeing, and I'm excited for you to watch it too, because I know you said you saw the
yeah.
show with
So,
your daughter within the past couple of years, right?
yeah, just a couple years. I think it was 2 years ago now, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great. And We actually started it tonight, but we only got about 45 minutes in. But Ariana Grande is incredible, just like as
She's
the
so
character. Even if you took
incredible.
her singing out of it, which she is great at, like she plays that kind of goofy, like not as smart as she could be, not actually nice, but trying to be nice. Like she's the mean girl, right?
Yeah, no,
Like she's
totally.
and she plays it so well. And Cynthia Erivo's great, and
Yeah,
we're still waiting for all the other characters to develop, like the was it fire
Fiero.
Hero, there you go. He just showed up, and his first appearance is hilarious. Like he's definitely got personality and
I love
charm.
Jonathan
Yeah,
Bailey. I love Jonathan
yeah,
Bailey.
he's
I
got
thought
charm
him.
out the yang.
Oh, totally. No, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to the second. The fact that they did it in two parts, that's a little bit questionable though too. The fact that it's like two parts and it's longer than the actual musical, that's I don't know.
Yeah, I think
But
they
that,
just couldn't put out the product they wanted and have people
yeah,
see it. Like if it's 3 hours, 3.5 hours, like
for
it's
one film,
yeah, it'd be
it's
too
so
long.
funny.
Yeah. But it does
Yeah.
sound like it kind of stops in at least a reasonable place. I mean, it is technically the end of the first act, right? So it ends
Hmm.
on a decent like kind of cliffhanger and then goes into the second act.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure. But yeah, I'm excited for, and it's coming out in November again.
mhm.
So part two. So it should be good. And someone told me they already filmed everything. They're just
Yeah,
waiting to release.
yeah,
Like they filmed part one and two, both, I
pretty
guess,
much back to back.
yeah,
Yeah,
back to back, but they're being strategic in the release, which I think is wise too,
yeah.
especially
It's
doing
still
it
going to
the
get
end
a
of the
li
year.
It's going
And
to get a lot more buzz now too that it's on Peacock and streaming and stuff like that. So it'll kind of re-buzz and then cool down, and then by the time November rolls around, people will be ready for it. So.
I also thought it was cool, and granted, like I would be this type of person. So you know how when it first came out, they're like, "Oh, people are singing in the theater. It's
Hmm.
like it's really annoying, and people are getting mad." First of all, no one sang in my theater, which is one thing. I sang in my head the entire time. But then I think like a month or two later, they started releasing Wicked with the actual lyrics on,
Yeah,
like it was like a sing-along
yeah,
showing, and I was like, oh, that's so up my alley. So it would be me and every other annoying person that people would be pissed at, um, going into a theater just belting out in a not very great voice, defying gravity.
yeah. Which, to be honest, like I think that's brilliant. Like because you wouldn't
Same.
want people to do it in your general viewing. Like
No.
generally, people are going to go to the theater because they don't want anybody around them to talk. You want to watch
Yeah.
this movie on the big screen because you paid to see it on the big screen. But
Yeah.
if you put aside a separate audience for people that do want that experience, and to say, hey, if you guys want to do this, you guys
Go
are
for
all
it.
doing this together. Everybody in the theater is going to be doing it. Like it becomes almost this Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of
That's
thing that is
literally what
totally
I was
okay.
thinking, Kevin. That was
Yeah.
literally, it was like, it's like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and they're profiting off of it. Oh,
Yep.
I saw somewhere in the city, I don't know if it's this weekend or next weekend, but they're doing, I don't know if it's a movie there, but they're doing a showing. Of course, like, anything could be an event in Manhattan, a showing of Sound of Music. It's a Sound of Music sing-along showing. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
I would love to. I know. And it was like 20 bucks, so not that much. But I would love to do something like that because that's one of my favorite musicals. Like growing up, I just have so many childhood memories. So that's pretty cool that they're doing that. But yeah, exactly like a Rocky Horror Picture Show. So cool how they came up with that concept. I could see a lot of kids going to that. Ugh,
Hmm.
but I don't know if they're still doing them, but I know that was like a thing in like December that they were like, let's come up with a solution for all the intense people that want to sing along and create less disturbance with the general
Yeah.
viewings.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's smart. You're going to make money off of those people. So,
100%. I should have gone. I mean, I knew better than to like sing. Like I was definitely singing in my head the entire like general viewing when I went because I knew better. But there's no question if there was like a sing along and they're like belt it out, I would be that girl who'd be like, ah, like that would be me because it's just so good. The songs are so
yeah, the
good.
music is
They're
great.
so, oh, it's so good. So yeah, but I'm excited. Ha wait, have your boys seen it or do they know anything about Wicked or what do you think?
No. So like, my youngest and my middle aren't too interested in it. My oldest is,
Okay.
And so it was funny because we started watching it and we realized that my son has never seen The Wizard of Oz or Wicked.
Oh,
My
okay.
wife has only seen The Wizard of Oz, but not Wicked, and then I've seen both. So we had like a little bit of each experience in there. But
Cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. My oldest is definitely interested. He's going to watch the whole thing with us. So
Oh,
it'll be
good.
cool.
I feel like it's an experience, and especially because Wizard of Oz was like such a big film in the when did it come out? In the
Yeah,
30s,
I
40s?
th 30s, I think. Like it
30,
was.
yeah. But it was one of those films that, according to my dad, was only shown like once a year, and everyone would take the time to watch it. Like you
Yeah.
would sit with your family and watch it like that one time of year when it was
For a
being
long time, it
showcased.
it somehow became a Christmas movie. It was on it or right around Christmas, like every year.
I believe you're right with that. Something like that, and everyone would just kind of come gather and watch. So I think it became like a family tradition for a
Hmm.
lot of Americans
Yeah.
in the probably like my dad was in college in the 70s, so I guess he remembers watching it in the 70s.
Yeah, and I remember it being on
Hmm.
when I was a kid, and even I feel like even as an adult,
Right.
um, and I think it's probably still on once a year,
That's
but now it's
fantastic.
harder to like kind of see because there's so much stuff coming out every year at Christmas time and
Totally.
all that, and there's so many channels and stuff. It kind of gets buried in the mix there, but.
But I don't think you can compare it to like the Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh no, it's because I mean it's not even a Christmas movie. It's
It's
weird
not at all.
that that's the timing, but it really was. Maybe it's just because everybody's families were together at that time.
Sure. It
So
was a good strategy.
mhm.
But yeah, it's I watched Wizard of Oz a couple months ago and I hadn't seen it in like gosh, 5, 10 years. It was a while and it was a good reminder of just little things that I forgot and then it allowed me to create these connections with Wicked. And yeah, but Wicked was such a big deal when it came out. I was in, I think like in end of middle school. Like I just remember like 2004, 2005, like, and I
Yeah.
think I saw it with my family in like 2006, 2007. I was like, oh, I love that show so much when it first came out. The soundtrack just awesome. I was so excited when it came out because I might mention this to you, but I'm an avid cycler and I belong to a spin studio. Every studio in the city for this franchise was doing a Wicked ride where they played the whole soundtrack from the movie. And of course, my dumbass had already taken a cycling class one evening. And then I found out the instructor in the class after was doing a Wicked ride. I was like, well, I guess I have to take a second class. I've never done two classes in a row. Kevin, I couldn't move for like 4 or 5 days. And I was like, it's that damn
Yeah.
Wicked class got me injured for like 5 days. I couldn't move, but I was so inspired to take a second class because I was like, I have to hear the soundtrack. And yeah, the instructor was all about it too. But yeah, Wicked's awesome. I'm excited for
Yeah.
to hear what you have to say once you complete the film because it's one of those special pieces that I think will continue to be like a family favorite, at least in this decade for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. Really good. And yeah, really a solid family show too. Yeah. It's,
Totally.
it's it's never really like inappropriate or anything. So
Yeah, no, 100%. So awesome.
cool. All right then. Well, with that, I will say thank you to everybody at home for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll talk about something next week.